Hello everyone, welcome back to the Programming Fields. I'm Umesh Rana and you are watching another interesting episode in our Laravel 12 plus React plus WorkOS authentication series. In our last episode, we implemented enterprise SSO login using WorkOS and a test identity provider. That allowed users to log in with their organization's credentials, and that was a major step toward building enterprise-ready SaaS applications. But today we are going even further, and this is something most developers overlook. We are going to implement directory sync using WorkOS. But before diving deep into this, let's know what exactly is directory sync. So I already have navigated on the WorkOS dashboard and I have logged into this dashboard. From here, I will just navigate to the official documentation of WorkOS. Under the additional products, we have this directory sync. Let's navigate on this link. We have the quick introduction about directory sync. So the directory sync is basically a system that automatically pulls users and groups from your customer's identity provider, and it could be anything just like Okta, Azure Active Directory or Google Workspace, and this fetch everything directly into your Laravel application. So just imagine this, a company signups for your SaaS product, and instead of manually inviting every employee, you just connect to their directory and WorkOS automatically syncs every user, every group, and even updates your system when someone joins or leaves their company. So that is directory sync. It is not just about logging in, it is about auto-provisioning users in a secure, scalable way in which the user don't need to enter any passwords, no invites required, and no admin hassle. And if you'll scroll down, here we have why use directory sync. So this provides ULM. This is basically user lifecycle management, in which we have this account creation, updation, and deletion. These all will be synced automatically using WorkOS. Further, if you'll go down, we can see the flow of directory sync here. So we have list of available directory providers just like Okta, Google, Azure, Ping, etc. So the WorkOS directory will be syncing directly with the directory providers. These will be third-party directory providers. Okay. So after syncing from the third-party directory, it will just sync those data to your Laravel application directly. Okay. So we can say the WorkOS directory will be involved as a mediator in which this will sync data from the directory providers, and then this will fetch the same data to your application. Further, we have directory group in which the directory will have groups just like accounting, sales, engineering. This kind of group will have list of users, and also this can be synced using the WorkOS. Further, we have directory users. So every directory will contain some list of users, and this can be synced automatically using the WorkOS to the Laravel application. And here is the best part. We are doing all of this in Laravel without any SDK, using just plain API calls. So if you are building something for teams, businesses, or the enterprise world, this video is a must watch. So grab your coffee, navigate to the code editor, and let's get started. So I will navigate to the VS Code editor. I already have the Laravel 12 plus React starter kit using WorkOS authentication setup. And if I will navigate to the .env file, inside this, we already configured WorkOS client ID, API key, redirection URL, and organization ID. And these all are done in the previous videos. So if you missed this, please check out our previous videos in the playlist. Now in the next step, we will be moving ahead to the directory sync up. So I will navigate to the dashboard of this WorkOS, and under the organizations, currently I have a test organization. This is created by default. So what I will do, firstly I'll create one new organization in order to create the directory, and I will provide the organization name as dev organization. This domain is optional. I will simply click on create. And the organization has been created. We have this organization ID. Okay. I will copy this organization ID. I will navigate to the code editor, and firstly, I will replace this previous organization ID with the new one because this was used for SSO, that means single sign-on. Now I will navigate again to the dashboard, and for the current organization, under the features, we have the single sign-on, and that we already saw in the last video. Now in this video, we are going to work on this user provisioning thing, that is directory sync. And it is clearly mentioned, you can invite an organization admin to set up in the admin portal or configure this directory manually. So as of now, I will just click on configure manually. And here we have list of directory providers which is supported by WorkOS. We have Okta, Intra ID, and this is a part of Azure AD, which is Azure Active Directory, Google Workspace, Custom SCIM. If we want to integrate any custom, we have CyberArk, Jump Cloud, OneLogin, and these all. Okay. So as of now, for the testing purpose, I will go with the Okta because other Active Directory will require the real organization ID. So I will go ahead with this Okta. So I'll select it. And here I will provide the directory name just like dev team. Okay. I will click on create directory. And yes, the directory has been created using this Okta SCIM. And after creating the directory, this has provided the endpoint and bearer token. So what we will do, so we will have to copy this endpoint and bearer token in order to make further API calls to Okta SCIM, because we are going to fetch all the data using the API only. So this will be done by WorkOS here because we are going to sync directory and users in our Laravel application using this API endpoint, and this will be connected from the Okta SCIM. So let's suppose if your organization uses Okta SCIM for the directory and users management thing, then in the Laravel application using the WorkOS, we can sync those data directly in the Laravel application. So for that, we will need this endpoint, and using the endpoint, we can make API request call to the Okta, and we can fetch all the data, and further we can perform the operations like we can store those data into our database. From there, we can perform other actions like delete, update, and all. Okay. So now in the next step, I will just copy this endpoint. I will navigate to the code editor, and in the .env file, I will create one more env variable just like WorkOS Okta endpoint, or this is directory endpoint, and I will paste that. Further, I will copy the bearer token because this will be helpful for authorization. So I will add WorkOS directory bearer token, and I will paste that. This is done. Now also we can keep this directory ID because we have to work on this single directory only, whatever we have created. So instead of fetching this dynamically, I'll simply copy this directory ID so that we can perform every operation based on this directory only. So I will add WorkOS directory ID, and I will keep it here. So I have kept these three things like directory endpoint, bearer token, and directory ID. Now we are good to go with this directory sync up in our Laravel application using the API credentials. So currently here we don't have any users. We can say this is users count 0, and also we have group count 0. Now in order to make the API calls to create and manage users and groups, we need the exact API endpoint for these two. Okay. So let's navigate to the directory sync documentation provided by WorkOS. And if you'll scroll down again, here we have the API overview in which we have this directory link. So I'll navigate to this. So under the quick start, I will navigate on this quick start. If I'll scroll down, so we have the following directory here. From here, we can just make connection on this directory. We have all integrations. if we'll click on this, this will show all the available third-party directories supported by WorkOS. Okay, if you'll scroll down, here we have Okta, SAML and Okta SCIM. So this Okta SAML is for SSO only, okay, and this is for directory sync up. So currently we have created the directory using this Okta SCIM in the WorkOS dashboard. This one, okay. So we'll have to go with this Okta SCIM integration. I'll click on this. And here we have the list of available endpoints provided by Okta in order to sync with directory, groups, and users. Also, this has mentioned these steps. So we already created this directory. Okay. So these steps are not needed now. We will have to create the users. So we will go through the API endpoints only in order to create users. So I will scroll to top. And here we have the endpoint. I'll click on this. And this has provided the endpoint as /users and /groups. So majorly this provides two types of endpoint, which is for user and for groups. So this /users will be appended in this directory endpoint. This has already provided this base directory endpoint. So after this directory endpoint, we have to append /users in order to work on the user sync up. And for making every API calls to the Okta SCIM, we need this bearer token. So either we can make request using the Postman or any other tool, or also we can make it using Laravel application itself. So currently we have added all these credentials in the .env files. So it is good to go with the Laravel application only. But in order to perform the API call further, we need a controller in which we can write the functionality. So I will quickly create one controller here using PHP artisan make controller, and I will create controller as directory sync controller. I will hit enter. Yes, the controller has been created. Let's navigate to that. So inside app HTTP controllers, we have this directory sync controller. So now let's quickly create a function to create users. Okay, so I will just write a function as public function create user. And for creating the user, we need to call API endpoint. So the API endpoint we have stored as a base URL here in the env variable using WorkOS Directory endpoint. So I will just fetch as directory base URL, and I will get it from env variable using env WorkOS Directory endpoint. Next, I will get the bearer token. I will change this variable to directory bearer token. Okay. And we will need this variable in further API calls. So what we will do, better we can keep it public. So I will create one constructor here, and we can keep these two things inside the constructor. And at the top, I will define variable like protected directory base URL and directory bearer token. And here I will assign this to this protected variable, just like this. Now further in the create user API call, we will have to pass the endpoint. So this is create user. Inside the function for making the API call, I will use Gazelle HTTP, and here I will use post request because we have to submit the data on this endpoint. Firstly, we'll import this HTTP using facade, and in the first parameter, we will have to pass the base URL. So I will use $this directory base URL, and also for creating the users, we saw the documentation we have the endpoint as /users. So we'll have to append this /users here, just like this. Okay. So the URL will be base URL /users. Now in the second argument, in the post request, we have to pass the data. So we will have to create the user data in the form of array. So I will define one variable as user data, and here I will just create one user data variable, and we will have to define the fields that we want to create for the user. Now also for making this API call, we need to pass the bearer token in the headers. So just before this post method, I will use with headers, and inside this function, I will pass one array just like this, and we will have to pass the bearer token. So we need the headers attribute and also for the user data for creating this. So we'll navigate to the WorkOS documentation again. And here we have the guide as every SCIM attribute explained. We'll navigate on this. If you'll scroll down, we have the quick definition about this SCIM attribute. So we have this link as data model. I will navigate on this. And we have this SCIM cloud documentation. And this is the flow like how this works. And further we have this JSON architecture for the attributes. And this attribute is for the user. If you'll scroll down, we have the group example. Also we have the following endpoint. This is for create, read, replace. That means for update, delete, search, and this is for bulk operations. And for this, we have to perform the following API call to the given endpoint. So currently we are just going to perform post route. So for this, we need this base endpoint. And if you'll scroll down again, we have this create request for inserting the user into the directory. So we will have to pass these following headers as accept, authorization, and this content type. So in the accept, we can pass this application/JSON. So I'll just navigate to the code editor and I will add accept/JSON. Next, we need the bearer token as well. So I will pass authorization, and this will be bearer just like this. And further we'll have to append the token. So after this bearer, so I will use $this, and we have the variable as directory bearer token. Yes. Also we need content type as application JSON. So I will add content type application/JSON. This is done. Now regarding the user data attribute, we can check out the detailed guide on every attribute, like what are the attributes for the user, like properties. Okay. So for this, we can check out the previous documentation. And if you'll scroll down, here we have the standard attributes, custom attributes. So in the standard attributes, a few properties are defined by the SCIM, in which we will have username, name, emails, and phone numbers. So we can check out this link for the detailed description. Yeah, we have navigated on this. We have this table of contents. Inside this, we have this JSON representation of this minimal user, full user, enterprise, and group. Firstly, let's check out for this minimal user representation. So in the minimal user representation, we have the following attributes, just like username, meta attribute, and if you scroll down, this is full user representation, in which we have these fields like username, name, display name, nickname, profile, emails, addresses, and we have these phone numbers, photos, etc. Okay. And the most important thing is this active flag. So while creating the user, we have to forcefully assign this active to true, so that this will create the user as active. And also we can specify the groups if you want to create users in a group. For that, you will have to create the group first. Okay. As of now, I will create the user with the minimal attributes. So I will just define a few dataset based on these attributes. So let's start with the username. Firstly, we'll have to create one array that we have already created. Inside this, we'll create this username attribute, and I will define a data just like email. So we need the email. So better I'll just copy this email address from here. Next, we need name attribute. So I'll quickly copy this from here. I will paste it and I will change this in the form of array. I will quickly replace these dots with the arrow. Yeah, so the name attribute has been done. Next, we need display name, nickname. I'll copy these two. And I will just replace all the double quotes from the single quote. Yeah. Next, we have the profile URL and we can set it. And this is optional, that is not needed. Also, I will set emails and address. I'll copy these attributes. And let's make this to array. So in the email address, we can have more than one email address. That could be work email address, that could be personal. Okay. Also, the addresses can be multiple. This could be work or personal. So I will quickly replace these dots to array just like this. I will close this array. Yes. And here we'll have to change this curly bracket in the form of array. Also here. And we have some more errors. Here we missed this. Okay. And based on this, we can add few more attributes, whatever it is needed. Okay. We can add phone numbers, photos. So this is optional. I will add it. I will convert this to array again. Okay. And the most important thing is active flag that we show here. So we can just add this active flag to true. We can add more attributes just like user type as employee, title, time zone, countries. Okay. But I'm not going in more detail regarding these attributes. If you need, you can use these all attributes. This is just for the testing purpose. So yes, we have added these following attributes as username, name, display name, nickname, emails, addresses, phone numbers, and the last is active flag. Again, I will quickly replace this double quote from single quote. Okay. And here I will capture the response as response. I will add dump and die response, and I will convert the response in the JSON just like this. Now in order to execute this function, we need one route. So I will copy this function name. I will navigate to the web.php route. Now inside this, I will define one get route because I'm going to trigger this endpoint from the browser. So I will use get and I will define the endpoint as create user, and I will call the controller as directory sync controller colon class, and let's import this class here. This is done. Now I will copy this endpoint. I will navigate to the browser. I will open the application, and we have the application as Laravel AuthKit app. So I will write Laravel AuthKit app.test, and further I will add that endpoint as create user. Let's hit enter. This said function does not exist. Okay, here in the route we have to pass the function name create user, that we missed it. Now let's navigate to the browser again. Let's refresh. And yes, the post request has been triggered and this has created the user data for the following attributes. Now the magic thing is, after creating the user from this API endpoint, if we'll navigate to the WorkOS dashboard, here without refreshing, we can see the user count is incremented from 0 to 1. And if we'll navigate on this users, we have that user data, in which we have the property like name, email, and the groups was not assigned. By default, this has taken role as member and the status is active because we have passed the active flag in the data from here. Okay. If we'll check the user detail here, by clicking on this, we have this ID as directory user because this user was created inside the directory. We have the name, these all attributes, and we have the following payloads. Okay. So using this way, we can create users. Now, if we want to create user in the group, then we can pass the group attributes here. So in the data, we will have to append the group, and that we can get it from the documentation itself. Here we show the group data just like this. So now let's try adding groups for the next user. So I will add group and I will create a single group now because currently in the data we have more than one group, and I will name it as employee. Let's change this to array. So in the groups, we can keep value and the display name, and this ref is optional. We can remove it. Okay, this is done. And now I will quickly update a few attributes like name in order to differentiate the user. I will use test user at example.com. I will update the name as test user. Middle name will be K. And here I will update the display name. It's like test user, nickname, test, formatted name will be test. Okay. I will update the email. Rest everything is fine. Okay, this is done. I will navigate to the browser again and let's navigate to the application and I will refresh it again. Yes, another user has been created. We have the user ID and groups here. Inside the groups, we have value and display. Now if we'll navigate on the directory sync again, we'll go back to the directory. We have two users and these two users are active. For the test user, if we'll click on the attributes, yes, we have the following attributes. We have the groups detail as employee. So by using this way, we can create users in the Okta directory manually using the REST API endpoints. Now similarly, we can fetch all the user details in order to sync to the Laravel application. So for that, we can use the same API endpoint. Okay, and we'll have to call that in the GET request. So I will create one more function to get the users. And I will just define the name as get users. I will copy these lines and I will add it here. And this will be get request. We don't need this user data and these all attributes will be same. Now let's copy this function name. Let's define one more endpoint in order to call that function. I will add get users and I will change the function name as get users. Let's navigate on the browser. I will duplicate this tab and I will navigate on get users endpoint. Let's hit enter. And here we have the result as total results 2. Let me zoom in. Okay. We have the total results. We have the data inside this. This is for first user data. This is for second user data. Okay. So similar to this, we can fetch a single user as well by passing the user ID. Just like this. So you can pass the user ID. So I will just replicate this endpoint and I will just change this to user. I will pass the user ID and I will change the function name as getUser. I will duplicate this function. I will update it and I will pass user ID here. And this user ID will be passed after this /users endpoint. We'll have to update that user ID just like this. Now if we'll try to access this function route, we have this /user and I'll just copy this ID from here. I will duplicate this browser tab and in the URL, I will add user / that user ID. If I will hit enter, yeah, we got that particular user detail. Same thing, if we'll try to access this user data, we can pass this user ID. Yes, we are able to fetch that. Also, this supports the put request for updating the data and also the delete request. So let's check for the delete request. I will change this method to delete. Function will be delete user. And this will be user ID. Again, it will be captured dynamically. And I will change the endpoint as delete user. And the method will be delete user. Now I will navigate to the browser again. And here I will just change this to delete user. Okay, this has returned null. Now if we'll check the user listing, the second endpoints, if we'll refresh, we have only one user. If we'll check the data, yeah, we have the second created user. So by using this way, we can manage the users from the Okta directory. So currently we are performing all the operations directly in the Okta directory. Okay. That means we are performing create, update and delete operations. So based on these operations, the WorkOS will automatically sync all the user details from the Okta directory and this will be done automatically. So we saw whenever we created user in the Okta directory, that user listing was updated automatically here in the WorkOS dashboard, right? Same thing when we deleted one of the user, that user was deleted from this Okta directory, but it was reflected in the WorkOS dashboard. So this WorkOS is automatically syncing all the user details or group details or even whole directory details from the directory providers. So by using this way, we can manage all the directory sync up in our Laravel application. Currently, I have shown you using the REST API endpoints, but if you have any dashboard like user interface, then you can manage it from here and you can perform all the CRUD operations from there. And that's how you implement directory sync in Laravel 12 using WorkOS even without needing a real domain or a third-party SDK. We saw how to set up test directory in the WorkOS. We fetched synced users using the directory users API and prepared the groundwork for enterprise grade auto provisioning. Now your app knows exactly who the users are even before they log in. And this is what powers real SaaS platforms just like Slack, Notion, Zoom, and they all use directory sync behind the scenes to manage user access at scale. If this video helped you, please smash that like button, drop a comment with your questions or topic request, subscribe for more Laravel Plus SaaS real world content, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow developers. So thanks once again for being here with me in Programming Fields, and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, happy coding!